Hey everybody. This is an activity that I really enjoy doing with my students. Part of it has to do with my fondness in my own childhood with playing with Hot Wheels cars. But one of the things that I really love about using Hot Wheels in therapy is that it just naturally encourages kids to get on their hands and knees. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that that's a big emphasis of mine. That you know, I want to treat the child holistically. I want them to develop good core strength, good shoulder strength, and one of the best ways to do that during childhood is for kids to get on the ground and crawl around on their hands and knees and just be on the floor. And so Hot Wheels, it just naturally puts you in those positions. And the fact that you have wheels, you have your cars moving around and you're building tracks, it requires you to put weight on one hand while you're reaching with another. It requires you to move from place to place. So really good. So I just want to introduce you to this activity and just show you basically how I might approach using it in a therapy situation, give you some ideas for ways to encourage your own children. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to my desk camera and just kind of show you a little bit about what I have. So here I have three cars. We'll slide that to the side for just a second. Actually, I have a fourth car somewhere, but I've kind of, oh, there it is. Okay. And and then I have these tracks. Now I already pulled one track out so you can see what it looks like. But if you notice the way I've got my tracks set up, just containing them, that becomes a therapy activity in and itself. I give the stack to my students and I say, hey, let's unstack these and let's build some tracks. And so they just start off and they work these rubber bands loose. Some students have more trouble than others. I'm a veteran at this, so I can move through them pretty quickly, but you can encourage them by maybe saying, just take one rubber band off at a time, or get them off as fast as you can, however you want to do it. So anyways, one of the cool things about these tracks is I always want my kids to put them together and take them apart. So they put them together at the beginning and they take them apart at the end of the activity. So if you're not familiar with these track pieces, they've changed over the years. It used to be that you had this little tongue piece and it would connect, but now you've got these little clips. I guess it's changed some. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not 100% sure, but anyways, what I really like about doing this is if you look at the tracks on the back side of them, you see these grooves. Put that at an angle right there. Okay, so immediately it's going to require some precision, but it's not a super complicated task. And usually, if I have to give hand over hand assistance, usually it's just a little bit. So the way it works is, if you're not familiar, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pieces and you're going to slide them into those things, and it gives you great feedback because it pops into place. All right, and immediately you don't even have to tell them; they know you got to put it on this one. And so then you work on sliding it. A lot of times I'll tell them to put it on the back side like that so they can see it better. Put them together right there. Okay. So I'm going to stop right there with that. Obviously, you can build them and you can put them all the way across the floor. You can make them go up and down over barriers, so they can be up in the air or they can be flat all the way across. And then at the end, the way I usually tell them to break them down is I say, okay, I want you to see that circle right there. I want you to push it like it's a button. Push and you pull. Okay, just like that. So I'll just push and pull. And then I'll have them take it apart the same way. Push, see, it pushes that little button out, pushes that little piece off. right there. So that's the track itself. Move these pieces out of the way, and then I'm going to show you how I make this into a therapeutic activity. Obviously, that part that I just showed you has fine motor skills as a component of the task. So if we wanted to add in a paper and pencil activity, you can go pretty simple like this, in that what we're going to do with our cars is we're going to have sort of a competition, maybe the fastest or the one that rolls the furthest, and then we're gonna make a podium for them. And so just make a square, write numbers 1, 2, and 3. So just like in the Olympics, you sort of build a platform, and then as your kids get 3 or 4 attempts, depending on how many cars they have. And then they decide at the end, they go, okay, so third place was this guy. So you put him here. Second place was this guy. And first place was this guy. So yay, celebrate that. And then move on to something else. The handwriting aspect, of course, is creating the shapes. Typically, we're doing squares or rectangles, but I suppose you could do any other thing. And numbers 1, 2, and 3 are just very natural, but you could use letters, maybe the letters that students are working on, or their initials. And so those could be what you do. And then there's also coloring in the space and trying to stay within boundaries. Okay. You could even actually, if you wanted to make it into expand the visual motor aspect, you could cut these pieces out individually, and then use a glue stick and put them on construction paper. And that adds to the task. For more advanced students, you can create something like this. And basically what we have here is I put my name at the top. I always encourage students, no matter whether it's kind of a play activity or if it's a class assignment, to go ahead and put their name at the top of the paper. This one I just put my first name, but you can encourage them to put their full name on there. And then what I did here is I just put categories that I thought would be fun during a Hot Wheels game. So best, fastest, biggest crash, coolest, longest ride, and then I have some bad categories, worst and shortest ride. And so one of the things about Hot Wheels cars, if you're not familiar, is pretty much they all have a name on them. Maybe hard to see. Let's see. This one, yeah, you can't see it on that screen at all, I don't think. But anyways, it's raised, and you can see it if you're in person. So this one's Alpine A110, and so actually it came in fastest on my pretend game that I played. All right, and then of course there's some other ones here. The Fairlady 2000, which is the coolest one. It's my favorite, obviously. So okay, so anyways, you can list categories like that. You can have, you could go into creative writing, and you could, if your student is more advanced and they wanted to kind of have a pretend story, they can have a whole backstory about why a certain car was performing at a certain level, sort of as like a sports and news story. So you could really expand those things. And then here, bringing back in one of our themes from some of our earlier activities, you can actually build your podium with Legos. So there's my gold medal winner, silver medal, and bronze. Obviously the colors are not consistent, it's just what I had. But anyways, I built it so that number 1 is the highest, number 2 is next to that, and number 3. And so then you can do this where let's see if I can switch over. You'll get a better vantage point. So we say, all right, so here's our ceremony. In third place, we have Alpine A110. In second place, we have High Beam, cool looking car. And in first place, Fair Lady 2000. All right, so there you go. And of course, once the activity is done, you break everything down. That makes another fine motor activity in itself. Get the students to start putting the rubber bands back on, and that obviously can be a challenge in itself. But anyways, love the Hot Wheels for a fine motor activity, for handwriting support, and for getting on the ground and doing some heavy work, putting weight down on your hands and knees. So kids can run with this. You get them a notebook and tell them, record what you're doing and build your tracks, and go for it. And these things are not that expensive. I don't even want to say how much they are, because I can't remember. I bought them a little while back, but it's a relatively inexpensive activity to do, and kids get years of play out of this very simple activity. So that's all I have for now. So y'all take care.